Hello and welcome to Efficient Strategy Gaming. Today I have the pleasure to be interviewing Hatlessspider on this HOI4 podcast. And before we start, I just want to make sure to give a shout out to all my members. You can go under my membership tab here, and for $1, you can have access to all this content, emotes and badges, custom emojis that you can use in chat when I live stream. And I'm going to be doing a workout, kind of just one-on-one VOD for my members only every Tuesday. I'm sitting in a cold plunge there, and here's a lot of the content you'll have access to. And then real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to all my members. Thank you, Cans Presta, Momokeo, Sir Volkerstein, Gary Barber, Overlord Z, Paul Larson, Adam, Last to Load, Harry Carey, Faulkner, Pat Gallagher, and Brute Alexis. Thank you very much, guys. So Hatless, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
I've got your YouTube channel up here, and we were just talking about audio and how important it is to the whole YouTube experience. And I have been unable to do anything but gross audio adjustment in Kdenlive. But yeah, tell me a little bit about what you're doing with your audio.
Oh, I mean, I just spent a few hours the other day just like trying to make sure everything was on point. Even like the way my microphone was set was incorrect. So there's a lot to think about that. I had to do a lot of research on it because like, yeah, I wanted it to sound good. I was getting some comments on my videos. For the most part, you know, everyone was, you know, they were happy with what I was producing and everything, but there were a few comments that I was noticing, and people were like, okay, you know, I'm hearing some crackling, I'm hearing something that I shouldn't be. And so, you know, I made sure I spent the time to make sure that I was doing things correctly, and there was a lot that I was doing wrong. And I think at least, you know, when you're first starting out, you kind of don't think about that sort of thing. You're just like, okay, I just want to get some I just want to get some content out there. And I mean, that is a good place to be. You do want to be making stuff, especially when you're learning. You just kind of need to get some videos out there, and then you kind of figure it out as you go. And you know, you're going to start seeing those comments of people that want you to improve and make sure that you're having that continuous improvement. And I don't see anything wrong with that. There were a few people. I know there was one comment where the guy was real kind of timid about it. It was like, you know, sorry for saying this, but I noticed some crackling in your audio. And I was like, oh no, don't be sorry. Like, that's a really good comment to make. I want to hear that sort of thing, because the more I can improve, the more people like that person are going to actually watch the video. So something to think about. Absolutely.
I started off on a Turtle Beach mic, and there was a lot of crackling. That is one thing that I can adjust in Kdenlive, my editing software. However, not aware that there's a lot of crackling, so I never use it because I have a Wave 3. I have an Elgato Wave 3, and I'm pretty happy with that. Can you see the screen that I put up? Okay, so what I did on OBS was I put a limiter in, and then what will happen is like my heater will turn on, and then I have a bottom threshold basically so that it cancels out some of the background noise. So that, I think that's how I got rid of the crackling on my mic. So you could just look into that. What software do you use to record?
That's similar to what I ended up doing. I watched this whole long video on how to adjust my settings properly and make sure that yeah, so if I was getting real quiet, that it would actually boost it through OBS, and then if I was being too loud or there was background noise, it would limit that then.
Do you use OBS to record your videos?
Exclusively.
Yeah, I mean, so do I. It's a little tricky to figure out, but once you figure out, it's very intuitive and it's free. So
yeah, can't go wrong with free. And yeah, I mean, it's not like you're sacrificing quality because it is free too.
So do you edit your videos at all?
Yes, most of them I have edited personally. Actually, the last video that I posted, that was like a mainline strategy video. It's actually that one right there, the Most Cursed Byzantium. That one I did actually have an editor work on, and he did a great job. So I'm probably going to continue on that as long as it can be afforded. So
Wait,
that's the key.
Where's the most cursed Byzantium?
You're real close to it.
This one. Okay.
There you go.
That's cool.
Yes.
And then how did you get this like this? Because there's no banner. I didn't know that was an option.
Having no banner. I didn't add one.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, like, it's almost impossible to set up the banner on YouTube and make it do what you want to do. So I don't think that it's bad at all, to be honest with you.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, it's just something I haven't looked into yet, to be honest. I probably should spend some time and really work on my banner and all that. Yeah, different artwork, all that sort of thing. But it's just not something that I've stressed about yet. I've just been more like, at least for me, just having enough time to work on videos. I know I was already talking to you about this, but I do have 2 kids and a wife, and that keeps me pretty busy. So as far as like having time to edit, make videos, even the amount of time that I spend strategizing, it's like it gets pretty exorbitant. And if I'm not careful, I will spend too much time on it and then not enough time, making sure that I am being a good dad, being a good husband, all that sort of thing. So there's a lot to think about with, maintaining a YouTube channel and doing all the rest that's required with that.
How does your wife like the channel?
I mean, she likes it. She's just like, she doesn't understand any of it. And I mean, that goes along with statistics of HOI4 in general, really. It's like how many women are into HOI4 or even strategy in general. It's not, you're not going to find that many women that are into it. They do exist, but yeah, they're as far as statistics wise, it's like it's a sausage fest.
I have 2% female viewership, and I don't believe it.
You don't believe it? It's not real.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure it probably is real. There are probably a few women that will, watch some of this stuff. But
I've seen one female Twitch streamer, but I don't know if she was like a solo or that I don't know if she main gamed Hearts of Iron 4, but we did have a female on my Discord. And I kind of treated it like maybe this is not a female. Like I don't believe that it was a female, but maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't want to ferret that out. That's not.
Yeah, we don't go there, but
yeah.
Yeah, so your content here, let's look at your popular videos. Like, how did you get into YouTubing? And how long ago did you start? Here's a video from a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I've been making videos for a while. Some of the stuff that I initially started with was really, really crap quality. And I unlisted a lot of that stuff because I don't even want people to see that. It's super long form content. Like, I was not editing it down at all. I was just like, okay, I've got this idea, I'm gonna do it. And I threw it on there on YouTube. But as far as it like being good quality, like the audio was not great. Yeah, and then the fact that I wasn't editing it down too, so it was like 3 or 4 hours of content, and it's like, who wants to sit there and watch for that long? Not too many people.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably how we all started.
Mm-hmm.
So you got some live streams? Do you live stream on Twitch or just YouTube solo?
I have only done YouTube so far. And yeah, I don't know. Twitch is a whole different animal. Like I've been active on Twitch sometimes where, I'll go and watch other streamers. I've watched Pigeon. I've watched some of the, like, I've at least been there for a Dankest stream. I've lurked in one. But there's some other people that I actually like watching more for the MP type stuff. At least for me personally, I feel like, Dankest is more like for the Zoomer crowd than my age.
Oh yeah.
So there's been a few other people that I've watched. CMOPS was one of them.
How do you like the Dankest live streams?
Like I said, I mean, I can watch it and it can be fun at times, but at least for me, I don't know. It's like it's too zoomery. It's like not my style really.
I mean, the chat is, but like using Dankus's own words, he says chat is usually talking about Stalin's balls. And so he mainly ignores chat, but that's, I mean, you got to pay attention when you play multiplayer. Like, it's not easy. So like, there's a good reason why he's ignoring chat. It's like, you make one misclick and then the downstream effects are like, oh, I just ruined the game. I just clicked one button and ruined the game.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. It gets quite intense. I was in one MP event, and man, at least for me, like that was the first one that I was ever in, and it was the Great Game 2 that Tommy K. Holy cow! Like going into that after being in single player and not really knowing all the meta stuff, like I had like a week to prepare, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing at all. I feel like if I did it now, I could perform a lot better, but even then, like I would still have a lot to learn. Like I would need to watch streams for like several weeks worth of time before I could really get a feel for what I was doing. And then you know, making sure my micro is on point too. That's another thing. Like you got to be fast in those. Like you were saying, you know, you got to constantly be thinking about what's going on, where the pressure is being applied. You have to be mindful of a lot of different fronts. And it gets pretty intense.
Yeah, I actually talked to the lead game developer yesterday. You can see that's coming out on Sunday. And he said the same thing. The game developer is like, he described himself as the lowest common denominator.
As far as what? Like he wouldn't know what he's doing?
He said it when he played, he was like, you know, the worst player, basically.
Yeah.
I think is what he meant. Because he didn't know all the meta. And then going back to the single click, I think that they actually were listening to me because the way they parsed out the tanks used to be that if you made it used to be set up to where you'd only go heavy tank. That was the old meta like a year ago before No Step Back. And
in MP? You're talking about it in MP?
Yeah. So medium tank meta now, and the way the research worked, literally, you'd have to go anti-tank, I think, and you could accidentally click, like the anti-tank was up here in the right-hand corner or something, so you could use your bonus from the heavy tank chassis on anti-tank, and it would scuff the whole game because anti-tank was required for Germany to have a chance. So it was just stuff like that, and they did repair that, but...
Yeah, and I do like the change that they made to piercing. When we did the Great Game 2, if you could not pierce a tank entirely, at least according to the other players that I played with, they were like, it's not worth piercing at all. You might as well just build a bunch of artillery for your infantry. And that was interesting to me. Like, at least now, even if you can pierce at like 60%, you're still going to be dealing decent damage. Maybe not a ton of damage, but you're going to be doing some damage. Whereas like back then you would do like next to no damage.
And partial piercing was supposed to be a thing back with No Step Back, but that actually partial piercing just came out like last month. So yes, that's the way it was. And then a lot of players that I played with, not a lot, some of the players made the mistake of putting in anti-tank into their infantry template. And it's like, I don't even know if that's viable now with partial piercing, but before it was like you said, if you did not pierce the tank, you're effectively doing nothing because stacking on top of armor is breakthrough, which limits the damage that you're doing as well. So if you're getting attacked by a tank, it's really hard to damage them.
Yeah, and actually, I've been doing some MP co-ops with Pigeon every now and then, and he really taught me a lot about like breakthrough and how all that works.
Yeah, I forgot which patch it was, but it was one of the last patches. And the developer on Sunday, you'll see when you watch the podcast, talks about what they're going to be doing with the patches a little bit. But
oh, that's cool.
I think tanks are in a good spot. I think supply is in a good spot. What are your thoughts in regards to game state?
As far as like the overall playability, or as far as what aspect of that?
I mean, whatever you think. Like, for instance, tanks didn't really work too well with No Step Back, and then they fixed that. And then like stacking was a thing. So like troops are on the capital, so they're not going to have a supply penalty. But say you stacked like over here, there's like 4 or 5 infantry divisions. When No Step Back came back, they would be attritioning immediately if you had a stack of more than like 3 divisions. Just little things like that. Any
so
improvements?
I will say, like, if you look at what they do, I feel like MP, what they do in MP should be a kind of a guideline for how the developers should change things. You know, for instance, they'll have troops on the front line, right? And then they'll have troops directly behind them as a reserve. So in my opinion, I think the devs should work on something that will actually functionally allow that in a front line. Like, it will do that automatically. That way you can be having troops shuffling in and out to defend a front.
That's interesting, because that's what they did historically. They did reserves. And then I've studied the Battle of France quite heavily, and they were squeezing everything through an hourglass through Luxembourg. So most of the forces were behind, and they were all in like a straight line, basically waiting to go through to the coast. But yeah, that's interesting. Have the battle plan, but there's troops hanging back. How do you think that the cohesion works?
I don't know. Does anyone use that? I've used it like once or twice to try to limit how much they were moving throughout the front. But for the most part, I've just found that it wasn't that useful for me.
Yeah, I didn't find a use for it either. And having empty set battle plans, in other words, just taking the tanks out of the battle plan and microing them yourself is, since that's a thing, it means that like the cohesion is only going to be useful for like beginning players or non-micro players. When I tried to use just the strict battle plans, there would always be gaps. And it was like, for this game, you never want to have a gap in your line.
Right.
Like, I couldn't find a use for ever having a gap in my line.
So another thing with that, that's another thing that MP players will do. They'll put a garrison order in Tibet, or, you know, somewhere in China, or somewhere they're never going to be attacking. And then they'll have 72 units in a division. And then they will put a frontline order with the field marshal. And in that way, they can still get battle planning, or planning for their troops, for their attacks. And they functionally are not using the frontline system, but they're still getting the benefits of it and being able to move the units wherever they want. Then I was doing an MP with Bittersteel and Antacil, and we were talking about that a bit. He's like, you know, that's not an intended thing. Like, that's how did he say? He's like, that's you're essentially like glitching the game. The game, like, it sort of forces you to do it because there's no other good option to still get planning and be able to actually take advantage of that without using the frontline system. And the frontline system is not very functional for allowing you to use your troops how you want to.
Do you get planning with this though? That's I mean, I don't know.
Not at the moment. You'd have to add a field marshal, and then so you put a garrison somewhere that you don't care about, that your troops are not actually going to be able to go to, and then so like in this instance, as long as you don't have military access to Sweden, you can put a garrison order in Sweden, and then you can put a field marshal on. You make a front line, then you do the offensive plan, and then that will start building planning for those units. Yeah,
I just did that on screen. It's not too challenging as soon as you know how to do it, but so you get the planning bonus off the field marshal battle plan. That makes sense.
But they need to be. This has been a thing in MP for a long time now, and in my opinion, the devs should really be looking at this. Like, okay, so we understand people want to be able to micro their units, or maybe, you know, you want an overall front line, but you have a few units that you want to micro. There should be a way to be able to micro those while still being able to take advantage of a battle plan and the planning bonus. That's what I think.
The only thing that I would say to that is I think they should take out the the area defense order, because you can get 72 inside of a single army, right, a single general, which means that general becomes very important.
Yep.
Because
that's not right too. Yeah.
You're going to receive all the bonuses. And then if you go medium tank, then you can concentrate all your armor under the OP general, that has Panzerleader, and then it's like not really any other country besides, I think Poland has a guy that starts with Panzerleader. I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
I don't, but Soviet Union does not, but you're supposed to grind it, but you're not allowed to tank volunteers. So you have to put the tank volunteers in the army, but only send infantry to the front line in like Finland, and it like gets super complex. So yeah, I'm with you. They need to make MP less complex, because it's just a string of exploits that you have to know in order to get to where you could even play a serviceable game. Yeah, I agree.
Well, and that would be useful for single player too. There's been a lot of instances where I'm like, I still want a frontline for the ease of use, but I also want to micro some units. But then if I'm microing those units, I'm not going to get any battle plan. I'm not going to get any planning bonus for those units, because I'm just moving them around as I please. If I'm not taking advantage of that multiplayer trick, and usually I don't. I do understand it's an exploit, so I try not to do exploits all the time. But yeah, I mean, I guess anyone that's watched my content, they know I do a lot of exploiting. But as far as like the really big stuff, I try to stay away from a lot of that. Like Order 66, for instance. What's another one that I really avoid? Even paradropping, like France, for instance. It's just so easy to do. I try to avoid stuff that it's like almost brain dead stuff. Like, oh yeah, we're just leaving our units in another nation, and because we have military access with them, and then we're going to declare war on someone that they guarantee, and boom, okay, they're instantly dead. Like, it just feels too brain dead to me. I like to do stuff that really makes me think and challenges me.
No, I'm with you there, and I don't use paras for any of my builds unless I specifically say so in the title for that exact reason. And then I'm trying not to Osborne my other podcast with the lead dev, but if you check out that podcast, which will be, it'll be last Sunday by the time this comes out, because your podcast is going to be the Sunday after, but he explains, we talk about this, why there's not the changes to multiplayer that we're suggesting right now, for instance. So you just have to wait for that, but
yeah. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, because it's really good it's cool that they did that with you in the first place, because you see a lot of communities where there's no communication from the devs or from the teams that they've set up. And then people get angry because they don't understand what's going on. And sometimes they have valid reasons for what they're doing. But if there's no communication there, then how do the players know? So, and I've been pretty impressed lately with how they assigned a janitor to Hearts of Iron 4, someone to clean up some old stuff that's not going to make them money. There's no money incentive there except keeping the game nice. It's like, yeah, it's not a money maker per se, except it still sort of is, because the cleaner your game is, the better everything performs, the more people are going to actually check that out and play the game.
No, absolutely. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to get people to appreciate by mainly doing this podcast, a community of people that are talking to each other, because I think for the longest time, the communication would be through Reddit or through like comments on prominent YouTubers' Discords or their videos, and it's all siloed out. So the point of this podcast was to bring it all together, and then I would like people to appreciate exactly what Hatlessspider is thinking about the game, what the devs are thinking about the game, but then also, like what you said, how well the devs communicate in the community, but try to tie it all together through this string of podcasts instead of the individual like siloed comments, because everyone who talked to a dev specifically, I assume, would tell whoever they know, but there's no content on that. Like, the changes that people ask for that were granted are never going to be known. For instance, Pillbox 20, I saw a bunch of Bulgaria. He's Bulgarian. Mm-hmm. There was a bunch of Bulgaria updates. No one would have known unless I pointed it out that he asked for them, and they just did that.
Yeah.
So, but back to the para concept, like, I'm curious, you're on the same Discord with me with all the other creators, right?
Yeah, and Mean's on there. Yep. Yeah, he's a friend of mine. No disrespect to Mean. Like, speedrunning is a whole different animal too. He's going to use every single thing in the arsenal that is possible to speedrun as fast as possible. Yeah,
okay, so that's how
saying that is not disrespect for him.
No, absolutely.
It's just more of my personal rule
because that's his content. Absolutely, but so his name is Mean. I was calling him Mon. I don't know why.
Oh, I mean, that's how I would pronounce it. I don't know.
Okay, so the 3 is an E. That makes okay. I'm dumb.
That's how I interpreted it. Yes.
Okay, so now that the Anschluss exploit is gone, Paras, I think they're gonna nerf. I just have this feeling. Do you have any speedrunning experience? What do you think the speedrun's going to look like now?
Well, in a sense, I do speedruns of my own. Like if you look at my stuff, usually I'm not playing until the latest I would play is probably 1942. It's just that I'm not doing things like purely for speed. Like what my content is more like trying to find the most fun paths, I would say, and really kind of warping the game in a lot of sense, using the focus tree and abusing things basically to make it more fun. So like for instance, currently I'm working on the Ottoman Empire, and in it I'm actually there's no like really good way to play the Ottoman Empire in its current state. So what I was trying to do, I played with the focus tree nonstop for like several days, trying to figure out how can I break this so that the Ottoman Empire can maybe be formed earlier on than it normally would be able to. Because if you're doing like a hardly anything Severus run, for instance, like you're going to be playing until 1945 for the most part. There are ways to do it a bit faster, but even then, like it's essentially world conquest. You're going to be fighting the Axis, the Allies, and Japan.
Real quick, can I theorycraft this with you, or is that going to Osborne your content?
No. Yeah, you can talk to me about it. It's fine.
Okay, so I did. Oh boy, I did.
Now this is the older one. This is I think this particular picture is the older
series. Okay, I looked up the Ottoman Empire on the wiki.
Yeah, no. You're in the right place. It's just that's the. I think this was pre one of the DLC or one of the changes that they made. Yeah, there we go. That's the one.
Okay, what DLC was it? Battle for the Bosporus that enabled this?
Yes. But I believe they made some changes since then. At least at one point you could not core Alexandria. That's been a known issue for a lot of formidable nations.
Can you explain this? Like, what are the different colors? Can you explain like
these are like the extensions. This is one good thing that they added for formidable nation for different formidable nations. Like if you look at like Arabia, for instance, you're gonna have to core everything in one giant block. You're gonna be stuck as a small nation until you click that button. For this, you can do it in steps. So like let's say you conquer Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, and Greece. Okay, well now you have the land to core all that's in like the lighter green there.
Okay, so what are you going for? Are you going for the whole tamale here?
I'm going for everything in my video, and then I'm also doing hardly anything Severus, which I'm pronouncing that. I'm totally butchering that pronunciation. I think it's actually like hardly anything Savra because it's French.
Okay, sorry,
we do the American pronunciations around here.
What is it? Savra? What? I'm sorry, I don't get it.
It's spelled Sevres.
And then what's that?
And that's one of the achievements.
Oh, okay. That's the achievement. Okay.
So it was the Treaty of Savra. And I think that's what like essentially took the Ottomans down after World War I. It's like, okay, well now you just have Turkey. Whereas before World War I started, they still controlled a good chunk of the Middle East.
Yeah, and it was were the Ottomans the sick man of Europe?
Yep.
Am I getting that right? Okay. Because there was like, I was watching this whole documentary on the English Ottoman war on Crimea here. They're at war with Russia, I think, and they're...
Oh, yep.
I got to look at... I'm not through the video yet, but
there were some interesting alliances there too, because like I think in that case the British were actually helping the Ottomans because they wanted to keep Russia kind of from some Ottoman lands, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe we're doing bad history here. I don't know.
Well, let's not get into it, but I think it was the eastern part of present-day Turkey. But let's get back to so the striped here. I'm reading here. The striped indicates that are not required, but will get cores. So Greece,
yes,
and down here. And then, what's your overall game plan? You start off as Greece to do this, or Turkey?
You have to start out as Turkey. Yep.
Okay.
So I have done a lot of Byzantine runs as well, and of course with that you have to start as Greece. But at least for the Ottoman, you have to be Turkey. That's the only nation you can play as to do it.
And then what? I'm not going to get into too much depth. You're going to have to watch Hatlessspider's video on this. But who are you? What faction are you going to align with, or ideology rather?
So for Ottoman, you have to be non-aligned, and you maybe potentially could change, but it would probably take a long time to do so. And then of course, if you do that, you're not going to have the Sultan. And for the Ottomans, that's one of their best bonuses, is actually getting the Sultan or the Sultana. That's another thing that you can do with the Ottomans. So yeah, we'll be non-aligned. That's one of the problems with it. You can't really fight until like 1939 because of how it hamstrings. And yeah, just look at that tree. That is a massive tree. It takes forever to get through because you have to start up there at the very top, and then you have to get all the way down to the bottom left.
Over here?
Well, to bring back the Sultan, you're looking up a little bit further, but yeah, it's all the way to the left. That part of the tree all the way to the left.
So Sultan, let me just look it up here. Sultan over here. Return to the Sultan.
Yeah, that's Return of the Sultan. But even further down, I think it's called Reclaim the Empire, is where you would have to go to actually bring back, or to give the bonuses to the Sultan. It
doesn't let me click on it. Okay, I can just hover. Okay, because I'm just Germany. I guess I could go Turkey here.
Is there to the left of...
Dude, this has got to be the most linear. I guess Spain is pretty linear as well, but like most of the focus trees are like either like right or left, and then there's a bunch of spread out. This you have to... Are you very confined when you play Turkey, or
At least for Ottomans, you are very much confined. There's specific focuses that you have to do. There's like you have to bring back the Democrat Party at one point. You also have to have a civil war. So that pivot to the past there, just a bit up there, that actually is... no, that's directly after the Civil War. Okay, so the focus right before that, looking outwards, you actually get a civil war from that. Yeah, there's a lot of problems with this because, for one, it takes forever to get down to the point where you can actually fight people or justify. And then you have a civil war as well, so it leaves you somewhat weak. You're wasting time in a civil war where you could be building up your nation. And then by the time you're finally you're like, yes, I'm finally the Ottomans. Okay, we got that Reclaim Macedonia, the war goal on Greece. Okay, we got the war goal on Yugoslavia, Romania, and then you align Bulgaria. And at that point, like, World War II's already kicked off. Okay, so now you have to choose a side. Who are you going to help at that point? And yeah, it gets crazy. It's like, so you need a way to speed it up is the big problem that I see with the Ottomans. And I did find a way to do it, and it's super, super convoluted. It's
okay. We'll save it for the video. You guys are gonna have to watch the video. But this is crazy. Cool. You get war goals against all these, but it's like way down here. So yeah, like you said, when you get down to here, is it like 45 or something?
But by that point, it would probably be 41 if you rushed it, like to get all the way down there.
And then like the nightmare of Meji, what the heck? Were the Ottomans trying to take out Japan? What the heck is this?
So that has to do with the Treaty of Savra. It's like, I think Japan played a part in maybe I don't think they took anything from the Ottomans, but I think maybe they just played a part in like that treaty. So
let me read this.
Part of that achievement is just getting revenge on the people that kind of screwed them in that treaty.
Oh, okay. It says
they call it hardly anything Savra, and to get it, I believe you need to own Paris, Rome, and Tokyo. I think those are the requirements.
Dude, good luck with that, man. That's going to be awesome if you can pull that off. It says here Japan signed Savra just as they signed Luzon. Though we long admired the Japanese, they are just as culpable as the other old powers. We shall humble them by ruling the Kadavate of Neon, sorry for the pronunciation, directly from Constantine.
Yeah, essentially Constantinople. Actually, so I learned about this not too long ago. Apparently, even the Ottomans called Constantinople, or Constantinia, until like, I think it was actually the guy you just had up, Mustafa Kemal, that changed that, because he was like a, super nationalist Turk, and he didn't want people to associate what is now Istanbul with the old Constantinople, because he wanted it to remain Turkish. And essentially, if you have a lot of people that still associate it as the old Constantinople, at least his thinking was, maybe someone will try to reclaim it. And of course, the Greeks tried to reclaim it. Even Russia, I think at certain points, wanted to reinstate Constantinople as or give it back to the Greeks, or a proto-Byzantine state.
Yeah,
kind of interesting history.
Yeah, Turkey's got a lot going on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you have cooking in the oven?
So actually, this is something I'm going to invite you to. And a lot of other. But I've been working, and this ties into the medium tank change as well. I actually had a complete video done on how to hold as democratic Luxembourg against the Axis. And then that's when Paradox decided to make the change of the medium tank to 1938 from 1936. It completely screwed everything that I had done on it. And so I had to spend like a couple more weeks revamping everything. And I finally got to the point where I can now hold as democratic Luxembourg against the Axis indefinitely. So in theory, you can just hold as Luxembourg with my strategy until the year 2000 or further, and on and on and on.
So you use medium tanks as Luxembourg to hold?
Yep.
So you're talking about getting the medium tank from the generic focus tree?
I research it, but yes, I do use the armor effort to do it now. I didn't have to before because it was a 1936 tech, but now I do have to.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. So it used to be up here. Okay.
Yep. It completely screwed. I literally had an entire video done, and I was getting close to releasing it, and then they made that change. I was so pissed when that happened.
That kind of makes sense.
I understand why they did it. It's just like I was so close to getting a nice video out.
Well, for instance, like Panzer IV was rushed out for Battle of France, and that was 1940, but I don't even know if they had produced any by 38.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably entering production in 39 or something like that, so it kind of makes sense historically.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Soviets from there have 2 years to start making the T-34s and everything.
Yeah, so now I basically just have to rush it. But I did find another way, and I've got a video cooking on that now. So I just need to be getting the editing done on it. But with the way I do it, what I'm planning on doing actually is getting the video done on how to hold, and then I'm planning on sending it to a whole bunch of other YouTube creators, or really any HOI4 creators. They could be on any platform, as long as I can find them and message them. So my plan is to have that video done, just a quick tutorial how to hold, send it to a bunch of people, give them maybe, I don't know how long yet, I'm still trying to figure that out. Maybe 2-3 weeks, something like that, where they can make a video on trying to actually expand from that point. So rather than just holding, which in itself is an accomplishment, because it's incredibly difficult. You can have level 10 forts, 5 AA. If you just have, you're going to have, by the time of the war with Germany, you're going to have like 8,000 troops, which is like 2.5% of their population. With 8,000, how are you going to hold the Germans after they conquer Belgium and France, unless you have like really good equipment? So it's hyper difficult to do. You have to be very specific in what you build. But my plan is to then send this to all kinds of other creators, and just with the challenge, like, okay, can you form the Benelux? Can you form the EU from this point? So that's going to be the challenge.
Oh, wow. So you'd have to expand out, or do you just sit in Luxembourg the whole time? Or do you take Belgium real quick?
Well, I mean, in theory, you could just hold out, and if the Allies do their thing and actually come in and do a Normandy invasion, liberate France, you could maybe utilize that to take some stuff, but you would need to at least have the Benelux and you'd have to stay out of the Allied faction too, to be able to actually form the Benelux or to form the EU. Because when they're liberating those nations, they're not going to give it to you. Even if you were in the Allies, they wouldn't do that, because Belgium and Netherlands would be a part of the Allies then.
Okay, so you just need Germany, France, and Italy for the EU, it looks like, right?
Well, plus Benelux, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yep.
I offended anyone from the Netherlands and Belgium and Luxembourg.
Exist. The Low Countries are not real. So it would be a massive challenge to actually get this done. Wait, so this is showing it without the Basque territory there in the southwest France?
It might not be updated, but the wiki's been down for the last 2 days, actually.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what they were doing on it.
So yeah, this is going to be a massive challenge. I have gotten very, very close to forming the EU, and I have formed the Benelux with this challenge, but I haven't quite formed the EU yet, but I know it's possible.
I finally found the Hardly Anything Severus.
Yeah.
I was scrolling here for like 20 minutes.
Oh, so you need the capital, you need London too. I was forgetting about that one.
No, I think you said it. I think you said London, Paris, and then Tokyo, you said?
No, I was saying Rome. I said Rome, Paris, and Tokyo. So I was just forgetting London. But yeah, it's a really good challenge. A lot of the big thing with this is hardly anyone's Savra, hardly anyone has done this on YouTube. So I'm excited to get the video out, because I know the Turkish army on YouTube is incredibly powerful, and they will boost my video.
True. I wonder why no one's done it before. Just kidding.
Well, it's just super hard, man.
Yeah.
It is super, super hard.
Dude,
I'm trying to find a better way to do it.
Making Persia, like, dude, everyone's asking me to do that, so I did it. That was incredibly painful.
Mm-hmm. I watched that one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was, I had to turn down the settings first time to the lowest difficulty setting.
Mm-hmm. Well, then I watched your Macedonia video too. Of course, the one that Bitter did on your strategy, and that's a similar story. It's like it is difficult to do that, and actually that's another video that I'm working on. I have a lot in the oven right now, but one of the most difficult challenges in the game. I've been a member on the Bitter Seal Discord for a long time now. And, I've gotten to know a lot of the people on the server and everything. And one thing that became kind of like a meme on that server was just to create Monarchist Macedonia, which is a thing in the game. Monarchism in Greece is like one of the few in Hearts of Iron 4 that monarchist trees that is kind of trash. You don't get that many bonuses. You have a civil war. There's a lot of issues with it. But I did discover a way to form Macedonia as them with the monarchist tree. Everyone, like I said, it was a meme essentially. Like people would in the suggestions tab for Bitter Seal, they'd be like, all right, do monarchist Macedonia. So I basically just took that on as a challenge for myself, because I know Bitter Seal was not ever looking forward to doing that. But yeah.
Yeah, he actually reached out to me and said, hey, can I improve upon your Macedonia build? I like the style that you developed. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like it's funny, because Hearts of Iron 4 YouTubing, I guess another reason why I started the podcast was that there's not a lot of collaboration, and then people are staying in their own lane a lot, not even talking about each other, which I think is a huge mistake. So people are trying to be very prim and proper and not offend anyone, I feel like. But even if there is like beef between YouTubers, unfortunately, human nature lends to that being provocative for the viewer. Unfortunately, but I don't want anyone to have beef with each other. But I'm just saying, just in case there was a little negativity, you know, that just adds the spice to the whole scene. So I don't know. I think we should talk about each other and to each other. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think with my channel a bit, I've done a decent amount of collabs with other people. If you look at the amount of collabs, like back in the day, Alex the Rambler and ISRO, I think it was ISRO, and then Alex Durnil, they used to do some collabs every now and then. Of course, or Drew Durnil, I think is who it is. He's become like a massive YouTuber now.
All right, this is it. This is
where was I going with this? So I guess there used to be more collabs back in the day, I think, but that was like essentially before I actually played HOI4. Like I wasn't in that scene at all until like maybe a couple of years ago is when I really got into HOI4.
Yeah, I wonder if Drew Durnil even has.
Yeah, type in HOI4. You should his HOI4 stuff should come up then.
What is it? What like, content is he doing here? There's like country balls and all that good stuff, but I'm just wondering what he's doing.
He does like map type stuff and like, I don't know, kind of like trivia, discussing things. Like, yeah, he's gone into a completely different field, but I'm pretty sure he started as a HOI4 guy.
No, he did. He looks like a man now. The last time I saw him was like, yeah, look at that.
Oh, he looked like more like a boy before.
Well, like, look at him here, bro.
He's growing up.
He was like, he might have been 19. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, really odd request, but I have to go turn on my sauna. Sorry. I'll be right back.
No, you're good.
Sorry about that. I think it's one of the safety features, but the heat only stays on for an hour at a time.
I'm jealous you have your own sauna.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was like the way I do it, like, I don't know, it's hard to connect these two things in a meaningful way, but the way I look at my personal finance is like an economy in a strategy game. So I justify the purchase of a sauna based on not having to purchase a gym membership.
I gotcha. No, that makes sense.
Here,
so I feel like I've been a bit of a collaborator person in Hearts of Iron 4, and actually I commented on your podcast with Pigeon because, man, that guy, he has done a big amount of boosting other people in the Hearts of Iron community. Like, if you look at the past in his, like, on his YouTube of his community tab, he has used that community tab multiple times just to say, hey, look at this guy. I like what he's doing. Go check him out. You know, there's not that much of incentive. I think maybe it's, yeah, there you go, right there. Like, what incentive is there for him to do that except that he's a good guy, you know? Like, he's helping people out. He's like showing people cool things that he sees. Like, that's why I was like, dude, Pigeon deserves some cred for this, because
I was unaware of that. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I had no idea. But like, I reached out to him because I admire his dedication to his channel and his dedication to his content style. So he actually, just to give him a shout out, he's now starting another channel where he's going to do longer form content, but he has more videos than this, like we both do, because we sunset the videos that are not the best. But his channel's been on for a year, and the mainstay of his content is under 2 minutes, or in the 2 minutes to like under a minute. That's pretty incredible. And he said he just obsesses over like trying to make the highest quality and, you know, pull out all the stops and everything. And yeah, I've studied his like video lineup many times, trying to glean information about how he produces his videos. So yeah, it's a good channel.
For sure.
Do you have any quirky hobbies like sauning or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I collect video games.
Oh, that was the thing that you told me that I was referring to.
I think I thought about it after you said that.
So like, what's your coolest, like, what's the most I guess you collect them and you sell them, you said, right?
I used to sell them more. Now, like I haven't actually bought a video game now in probably 3 or 4 years. And the last one I bought was just like, I don't know, something that I didn't have that I wanted to play with some friends.
So what's the most expensive video game you've ever sold?
I think it was one, and I probably should have sold it for more money, to be perfectly honest. It was something that was quite rare, like actually incredibly rare, and I didn't understand it at the time. I got an offer on it for $600, which was much more than I paid for it. I paid $10 for it. What was it called? Let's see, it was a hockey game. I'm trying to remember what it was called.
What platform?
Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Oh, no problem.
Because it's been, and when did I sell that? That was probably 5 years ago now. Hit the Ice is what it was called. And so it was in mint condition, like nearly perfect condition.
Wait, was it SNES or?
It was for Game Boy.
Oh, dude, they got one selling for 99 cents.
Yeah. I mean, if you can buy it for 99 cents, buy it right now. Because even the loose cartridge is worth about $40 or so. But yeah, so it was in mint condition. It was complete in the box. It looked like it had hardly been touched. And the guy that offered to buy it from me was actually one of the guys that competed in the Nintendo World Championships. And I believe he came in third place. And he is actually a huge Tetris guy. Like, he even created a documentary about Tetris. And when I sold it to him, he said, "Hey, I'm in the video game scene. I talk with a lot of the other guys. I'm good friends with Thor Ackerland, which is the guy who won the Nintendo World Championships in, I think, 1990. And he's like, hey, I can get you his signature. I can get you a signed copy of Tetris, and I will also give you a signed copy of my documentary." And I was like, that sounds epic. So to me, that was like, that made up the rest of the value for whatever I potentially could have gotten over that amount of money.
Wow, that's cool. But I mean, you sold it for 600 and you bought it for 10. So I mean,
yeah,
I think, happy for honestly, the dub.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I think if I had just continued selling it like on eBay or something, I probably could have gotten $1,500 to $2,000. So that's why later I was like, oof, I probably messed up there. But I mean, that's just speculation. So who knows? Maybe it would have only sold for $800.
Do you ever think about how revolutionary the Game Boy was?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about the Game Boy is there were a lot of handheld consoles before it that performed better. It's just that like the Game Boy itself, like if you're talking about the original brick Game Boy, it's kind of like the technology wasn't as good as some of the other handhelds, but the way that they did it was just way better. Like they were coming out with games that really stoked people's interest. And I think some of the other consoles just weren't as good, even though sometimes their technology was better. Like if you look at the Dreamcast, for instance, the technology was like light years ahead on the Dreamcast, but it was essentially a failure in the end. Part of that was just because like if you produce something that is super far ahead technology wise, the people that are going to develop games for it can't do it as well as if like you just make a console and it has the like maybe an older technology, but it's something that the developers know and can use well. Like
Microsoft being the main, like Microsoft Windows, basically.
Yeah, it's something that like everybody is using. If you're using that technology that everyone knows and everyone is using, and you don't try to go like super innovative, sometimes that's actually way better than trying to be like the top notch.
If it's easy for game developers to make games and stuff. Mm-hmm. Look at this screen. Did you ever have one of these? Like this light attachment?
Oh yeah, it gets crazy too. Like if you look up, I don't know what the keywords would be, like Game Boy monstrosity or something. You could like stack tons and tons of accessories onto a Game Boy.
Oh dude, look at this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. You could boost the audio. You have a magnifying glass and a bigger joystick. It turned it into a joystick.
So another fun keyword to search is the Sega Tower. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but like there were a bunch of accessories for the Sega Genesis and like the different systems that went with that, like Sega CD, Sega 32X. But you could essentially like stack games on top of games on top of games on top of like a game genie, and you would just create this massive tower.
What did this do? What do you mean stack games? What did this do? What?
Let me see if I can get a good keyword for that.
Oh, this one's in Japanese. So like,
there's
a CD player.
Sega, if you type in Sega Tower of Power.
A Tower of Power. What are all these attachments? It looks like it wants me to basically go to images. Yeah, this is up on the screen, right?
Yeah, but it gets like way more insane. Like that one right below it, that picture right below it. That's closer to it.
But like, what exactly? What are we doing here?
So there were a few different games that came with like I think say Sonic and Knuckles or something. It's basically putting like a throughput from one cartridge to the next, and so people just like took it to the extreme, and they're like, okay, we're going to take every single game possible and every single game genie possible, action replay, all the different things that they came out with, and we're going to make it into a massive tower, and then they can still play the game in the end. So
what did Game Genie do? It gave you the cheat codes, huh?
Yeah, it was like the primitive way to be able to it would automatically load a bunch of cheats in for whatever game you put on top of it.
Because there was no internet, so you couldn't just look them up in like 2 seconds.
Right.
You'd have to buy like a book. That's so funny how like information was so gated back then. Like, and then if you wanted a guide, like essentially what you and I do is produce books in video form, whereas you would have to literally go to the bookstore in the 90s to buy a book to like figure out how to find all the secret places in Final Fantasy VIII, for instance.
Yeah, it's like and then a lot of games that they made back then too, they would like specifically make it so that if you didn't get Nintendo Power or you didn't get the strategy guide or whatever was needed for it, like you just kind of be screwed. Like maybe you'd have a friend that had it if you were lucky, but some of those games were really complicated, and it's like, okay, well you need to jump off of a ledge, and it looks like it'd be a free fall and you're just gonna die. Nope. Well, there's a ledge down there below, and if you don't go to that, you can't advance because you didn't find the key of that will open the door in the next level or something. And it's like the game devs were just really screwing with people on a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, I remember stuff like that in console games where but they were screwing with people, but they also screwed up their own game, because if like half the player base can't complete your game, like I would just put those games down until I could get a guide, because it was like I'm not gonna sit here for 50 hours every week trying to figure this game out. But yeah, I think that's a good note to end the podcast on. It was a pleasure speaking to you today, Hatlessspider. Thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, it was fun. I feel like we could have gone for another like 3 hours and still been good.
Definitely could have, but my sauna is waiting for me, and I do not paying that. I do not want to pay that huge electricity bill, so I'm gonna hop in there and then I'm gonna go work out, and I've got a whole day. Like all my days are scheduled out. So
yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that was fun. So I hope it goes well for you.
Yeah, and you too. Go ahead and check Hatlessspider's YouTube channel out, and yeah, you have a good day off. It's he's joining us on his day off, and yeah, we'll end the podcast here. Thanks all for joining, and I'll see you on the next one.